folks, special treat for you this week. I'm with one of the finest flat-picking guitarists in the world, Mr. CHRIS NEWMAN, who happened to be my uni tutor back in the day. Back in 2008 was when I first met you, wasn't it?
Really?
Yeah, 2008.
Crikey.
Quite a while. We've hardly changed.
Well, speak for yourself.
Yeah. But Chris has been kind enough to host me here in his studio, and he has a few really beautiful guitars. So I'm playing one of his Collings guitars, and you're playing your OM, is that right?
Yeah, the one I'm playing, this is the one I use every day really when I'm just doing gigs regularly these days. This is an OM1 AC. The OM1 is basically, it's the Collings equivalent of the OM18. That's to say the ones are mahogany body.
Yeah.
So this is a 1AC, so the numbering system is kind of weird. It's Orchestra Model 1A, which is the Adirondack top.
Yeah.
And the C is the cutaway, of course. I've had this guitar since about 2008 or 9. I bought it second hand on eBay, actually. But the thing I love about it, it was the first guitar I ever played, really, where with a cutaway, but when you get to the top, it isn't terribly disappointing. Because so many guitars, they sound great down here, but as soon as you get up to the bit where it's up to the dusty end, they sort of fade away a lot. And the thing about this guitar is it's really, really bright at the top, which is great for doing certain kinds of things, you know. So
it just rings, doesn't it? When you play those high notes, it just rings out.
It does, yeah. I mean, and the other thing about this guitar is long scale. It's 25.5 inches from nut to saddle, which is fine. Which means you can use light gauge strings, sort of 12 to 53s on here.
Okay.
And the one that you're playing is a recent acquisition which I bought in Lexington, Massachusetts, a couple of months ago. And this one has got a really strange number. It's an OM3MHSSC, I think. So it's an OM3. The interesting thing is it's flame maple. Not flame maple, what am I talking about? Flame mahogany, sorry. There's flame mahogany back and sides. And it's white bound, which is quite unusual to see mahogany guitars with white binding. But that's a cosmetic thing. But it's got a German spruce top. And of course it's got the little pyramid bridge, which means that but the most important thing for this guitar, for me, is that it's short scale. It's 24.9 inches as opposed to 25.5.
So the space between the saddle and the nuts essentially is shorter.
It's over half an inch shorter, and half an inch doesn't sound like much, but sometimes if you're playing, you're doing stretches like this on this guitar, you play something like that, sort of C sharp major 7 on this, and you do it on that one, it's an absolute piece of cake.
Yeah,
it's really not a stretch. Whereas on this one, it only really affects you when you're playing down near the nut, because obviously when you get higher up, the frets are a lot closer together anyway, so it doesn't really make any difference. But it's just down the bottom end, it really makes a difference. Which is why I bought that guitar. Apart from that, it's just a lovely guitar. But I thought it could be quite handy for playing certain types of things, because you could it would, and ordinarily, because it's short scale, the other short scale guitars I have all have 13 to 56s on, because of being short scale you can beef up the gauge of the string. But you can't do that on this one, because it's got this pyramid bridge. And the pyramid bridge is really, really pretty, but it's actually a lot smaller. The actual footprint is much smaller than the belly bridge here. Therefore, you could probably put 13 to 56s on it, probably, but I wouldn't want to risk it.
No.
Why would you anyway?
Well, that's the thing, it's so loud. I mean, it's an absolute joy to play. It's one of the nicest acoustic guitars I've ever played. And it's just got such projection to it, and when you dig in it really responds to that. It doesn't sort of feel like the notes compress or anything.
I mean, the thing about Collings guitars, I mean, I'm a massive Collings fan. I spent an afternoon in the factory in Austin, Texas in August 2016, was it, or 15, I can't remember. And it was the most interesting afternoon I've ever spent. I mean, I'm not a luthier, I know nothing about how these things are made, but it was just interesting going around a factory and seeing all the different processes and everything. It was really fascinating. And of course their attention to detail is absolutely second to none. I mean, I bought several second-hand cars. I mean, I bought this the OM1's AC, and I also bought my mandolin on eBay, and I bought another one through a forum as well, unseen. I did actually see this one before I bought it, because it was in a shop. But I mean, I've got 3 Collingses now, I think, that I've bought blind or deaf. And there are certain, and it's probably the only brand I would do that with,
Right.
because you just never see a bad one.
Right.
You might find some might be a little bit nicer than others in some respect,
Yeah.
but I've never ever picked up a Collins and gone, what I ever do when I pick up a guitar for the first time, I play first position E major chord, just go. That's it. That's all you need to do. Sometimes you play guitar and it's like you think that's all you need to know. It's horrible, and other times. Oh, actually, this is okay. That's worth pursuing.
So much of the character just in that
Yeah,
one.
just one chord, but it's a full thing. It's a full range over 6 strings, more or less in the middle of the hole. So you're not getting extra bass or extra treble. You just sort of you think, well, yeah, that sounds all right.
That's the job, doesn't it?
And that one was very much the same. I walked into the Music Emporium in Lexington, Massachusetts, a couple of months ago. And they had 3 Collings cutaways in, which is incredible. I mean, 2 of them are brand new, and there was this one, which looks brand new, but it's actually made in 2008.
Right, well, you did well not to buy all 3 of them. Very restrained of you.
I think I wouldn't have been the most popular person if I'd done that. But it's a lovely guitar. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I might have to slip it in my case, when I leave, I suspect. Yeah, so thanks for having me here.
You're very welcome. It's great to see you.
Great fun to catch up and do a bit of jamming.
Yeah.
We're going to play a few tunes, so we're going to do minor swing, bit of a jam, and then lime rock as well. We're going to do a bit of a bluegrass tune. So this was one that Chris taught me when he was my tutor back in sort of 2008, 2009.
It's one that I learned from an album by the great guitar player Dan Crary, who's become a good friend of mine now. I mean, I know him quite well now.
Yeah, well, I remember you teaching me this tune, as I say, in my first couple of years of uni, and it being one of those that I used to record on my phone at the end of the lesson what you'd shown me, so that I could go and learn it just by ear, because it was a folk music degree course, wasn't it? So
yeah.
So we didn't used to.
You wouldn't learn any written music from me anyway, because I can't read a note. So it has to be done by ear.
Yeah, so I remember being somewhat daunted by the speed and the number of key changes in this one as well, because it goes between A and then D and then back to A and then to E, and then back to A again, and
then D.
It keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, it goes around all over the place. Yeah.
So so lime rock.
Lime rock, good fun tune.
On 2 beautiful Collings guitars. I feel somewhat nervous with it in my hands.
You're fine.
I haven't scratched it so far.
There's still time.
Brilliant. Right, well, without much further ado, here first of all is lime rock.
That wasn't bad.